Welcome to the Create Today podcast. This show is all about how you can create the life that you love one day at a time. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, and I'm so excited to have Jessica Taylor with us today. She's the founder of a company called Lead Nerds, which I'm particularly very fond of. I love that name. It's so cute. And I never really know how to explain everything that you do because you do a lot of things all in the IT space. You've helped me with SEO for my websites. But hi, Jessica, and thank you. And tell us all about Lead Nerds. What is it? What do you do?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So originally how Lead Nerds started was just a web development company. But we work with so many different aspects of tech, especially like making sure that the tech you're paying for is stuff that you're actually using. As the years have progressed, there are so many different type of free products that turn into freemiums, and you end up paying some kind of like $7 a month, $5 a month here and there. And what we help people do is not only build their website, but also make sure that the data they're collecting from their clients and customers is going into a single space so that it can make your website more efficient and actually useful. So it can have like customized experiences for your customers and also have follow-up sequences that are going to actually help so that you're not like wasting money through advertising because you're not identifying a customer correctly because you don't have them tagged in one system versus another. So making sure that all of the tech actually speaks to each other and you're spending your money efficiently and you can just focus on your business.
I love that. I think everybody has fallen victim to that. That's why they even have companies now that you can subscribe to help you get rid of all of your subscriptions that you don't need and you don't use. And I'm the worst. I feel like I have purchased 900 different programs in the last few years I've been in business. And you're helping me like streamline that and get rid of stuff that's not working and on the website and then off the website. It's so cool. What I also love is that what you told us before we started recording, you told me that your mission is to help, I wrote it down, build tech confidence so people don't get taken advantage of. What are some of the ways that we could build our own tech confidence? I'm a Gen Xer. I wasn't born with an iPhone. Stuff is very complicated to me. And it's to me, I'm the story in my brain is that it's hard and it's complicated and I'm not good at that. Like I have all of those stories because people like you are so much better at it. And sometimes I just think it's I need someone to do it for me because I feel like I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. It's so, what's the word? It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you're helping people with that, resolve that overwhelm. How do you do that? How did you even, when did you start building websites? First of all, I was like, how long have you been doing this?
So I started building websites when I was like 13. So my dad actually had a web development company, and he was kind of one of those guys where it was like, it's just, they're wizards. You can't understand it. And I've always like kind of had that like other side approach of like, I feel like anybody, if you really want to know how to understand something, you can. Like I wasn't just born with these traits. I've just endured the failures a lot more than others. One of the things I say a lot is sometimes it'll take us like 2 days to solve a 30-minute problem just because like you have to build up that resiliency of it not working and not working and not working. And then all of a sudden you just change something and you figure it out. And, just building up that past knowledge of these are the things that worked before. So one of my main goals is to build up this tech confidence in others, because I feel like even if you aren't in tech or anything like this, knowing how to problem solve and having that self-confidence of I hit a problem, but there is a solution is so important. That's what my main goal is to make sure that to help give people the tools that they need to solve problems themselves and also not feel ashamed to reach out. Like I get a lot of people that'll say like, this is a stupid question. And it's like, no, it's not a stupid question. It's just computers are built in a way to speak to each other and tech people. And tech people aren't normally the best at communicating either. So, one of my goals is to make sure that whatever we build is built in a way that it's easy to understand, because if a human can't use it, then it's not worth anything. It's, that's the whole point around it. Because especially like with government sites or just older things, it's like they make it so complicated and hard to understand. And if it's built around the human experience, then people will actually use it. It's more efficient, and you're not going to, feel that resistance and feel like dumb or feel like it's like, not something that somebody can understand. So
yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And then, like people like me, I will work at it for like maybe a few minutes, or maybe do a search on YouTube and try to find someone who's explaining it to me in the words that I can understand. And you've been doing all that a lot. I know you've been building up like massive resources for, okay, just like you said, I solved this problem in 2 days, but now I know how to do it in 30 minutes. And so now you're showing somebody how to do it in 10 minutes now that you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing is like, just because I think of a problem is worded a certain way, it's like that isn't always how it's searched. So making sure at least for me, what I'll do is I'll look at Reddits and just see like the different ways that a problem is presented so that it can be optimized. And that kind of goes into at least my theory behind search optimization. A lot of people kind of think of, and like technical is like super important. But for search engine optimization, making sure that you're creating content that uses the language that the searcher is actually looking for and that's actually going to be useful is how you create actually like engaging and useful content. So like you said, like if I have a problem, I'll figure out the problem and then I'll upload it to YouTube and search for all the different ways that the question's being asked. So then I can just use that in the description and things like that. So it's easier to find.
Like, give us an example of something that you solved and it was surprising what the searches were, what the actual search words were by us stupid layman people that don't know. We don't even know how to search for it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say well, right now it would be so YouTube released a update where you can link your shorts to long form content. So all of the information out there was just talking about how you can put links in your shorts description, but not the actual how to do it. Or they would have the information, but they wouldn't have a screenshot of what it actually looked like on the back end. So like I have one video up, I think it's got like 70 comments on it of just people like saying, thanks for actually showing me where the option is to link the content, because people would say, hey, this is a new update. YouTube allows you to link your shorts to your long form, but that's where it would end. They wouldn't tell you like how to actually do it. And from a tech aspect, they may think that's like, too simple or mundane or a stupid question. And it's like, you have to just put it out there, because like YouTube they didn't make it that easy unless you actually went and where all the features are and you're in and out of the system. And if your main focus is just creating content, it's not always going to be on the optimization side and things like that. So I just want to eliminate the barrier to the tech world of like only these people know this, and only the creators just create.
I love that, because there are so many questions and so many different ways to ask them. That part of our challenge is, what do we ask? And then you're just providing so much information in an easy, concise, fast way. And we can just hire you to do all of it for us without learning anything. But it's been so helpful. I think all of us have those little aha moments where we did figure something out, or we did watch one of your YouTubes or something that we went, oh my gosh, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think that's so important because then, like you're saying, you want to empower people, but I can totally understand that because once I have figured out something that I think is going to be a 2-day problem that actually ends up being 15 minutes, it just feels so good.
Yeah. And, it's an exponential effect because it's like, I can just fix people's problems. But, if I can teach people how to fix their own issues and they can help others fix their own problems, it's empowering way more than I could alone. And like, that's why I'm really focused on the videos and, trying to think of it from more of a scaling aspect because yeah, like I don't want to like just hold back the knowledge and, if I just can't fix something, that's where it stops. Because at least for me, one of the hard things I've had is just finding people in my area or in my network that I feel like know as much as me or more or know more than me so that we can bounce off ideas and grow and like create more innovation. Because it's just like so many things are just kind of like mimicked off of the internet and being able to come up with solutions creatively that haven't been done before or being able to bridge that like this was a solution for this one problem but it also solves this other thing is super important
that we might not know.
Yeah.
Love that you're saying it's exponential because that one person that you taught, if you're giving them, it's the whole saying, give somebody a fish, they'll eat for a day, but teach them how to fish and they can feed themselves for life. It's the same thing. It's so cool that now that problem is no longer a problem. It can always be solved in 2 minutes, whenever it comes up, whenever you hire a new person, whenever you have a new computer, whenever you have a new software, you need to put it in, it's like, people, you're going to have to, all of our electronics are, oh, we're going to get to that. Cause I always think of them being completely throwaway. They literally, to me, I feel like they have been built to break in 2 years. So you have to buy a new one. And you're like totally changing that paradigm. You're saying that's not even true. So I didn't even mean to segue right into that, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying that no, dummy, your computer isn't made to last 2 years, or maybe they do some things to make it really frustrating after 2 years so that you just buy a new one, but we don't need to do that either. So tell us how you started the nonprofit. What is the name of it?
So the nonprofit we started is Computer Repair Lab. And what we do is we take old devices, computers, towers, and bring them in, repair them, and then give them to students in need. At least, so when 2020 happened, every student needed to go virtual. And what we're seeing over the past couple of years is if you didn't have good internet access, a fast laptop, or you were just using kind of the family laptop or computer, you didn't have that dedicated time that you used to. And we tried to make some kind of dent in 2020. We were able to repair 15 computers, but the need is huge. Like in my county alone, I'm in Central Florida. The need for computers is 25,000 for all the students that actually need computers.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then we have the other issue of, like you said, so many people just think that they need to throw away their laptop. And depending on the type of device it is, you can. But if it's a Windows machine, especially Lenovo's are great for repairing and upgrading. We can take those in and really all you need to do is update the RAM, put an SSD in it, which is like kind of like a faster hard drive. Then it's modern, like it runs faster than anything.
Wow.
So like if somebody comes to me and it's like, hey, like what's the cheapest laptop or anything like that I can do, look for something that can upgrade to a higher SSD and has upgradable RAM, because you can get like a $300 laptop, and just as long as it's upgradable, then you can stick with that $300 and then you can turn it into a $800,000 laptop later on, just because it has that ability to upgrade itself. One of the issues we're facing is we can't take in Apple Macs, things like that, because the actual RAM and things like that is soldered onto the motherboard, which makes it like a very fast device because it's just like direct connection. So the architecture behind Apple is awesome, but they have made it so hard to make it repairable by somebody that isn't an Apple technician, because either, most recently their sleep sensors, if you replace the sleep sensor, it'll just keep the laptop on. So even if you like shut the device, it keeps the laptop on unless you can get a basically a reprogramming USB stick to reprogram it and tell the Apple device that like, hey, everything's good. You can go to sleep. So it'll be like stupid things like that. Honestly, that's like a 50-cent device that could be repaired in the laptop, but it makes it like a $500 expense just because they don't allow things to be easily repaired like that. So going back to
what I said about Apple is the one that actually is doing that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They want you to buy, they make it so you have to buy every 2 or 3 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's a business model. It's like, it's great. It's great for making money because, you get that yearly recurring revenue. They always know when it's going to, be expired because they have their time limits and things. I mean, same thing happened with the Chromebooks. When 2020 hit, all the Google went around and was like, hey, buy these Chromebooks. They're super cheap. And now we've gotten to the point where there was a security update thing that went out that made nearly 80% of those Chromebooks that were purchased in 2020 for these purposes obsolete. There was a lot of pushback from the tech community to prevent that. So luckily there's at least still some that can be, that have been pushed to stay alive basically for another 5 years, but it was so late that a majority of them are just kind of e-waste at this point. Yeah.
But you're actually teaching people how to fix them, right?
Yes.
In your computer lab, you're not just fixing them, you are teaching, you're doing classes, right?
Yeah, so we'll have our first set of classes in a couple weeks. But our goal is to, like I said, just having that exponential effect. We'll have a Teach to the Teachers event where we're going to bring in people from the community that want to learn, their job isn't really to fix computers day to day, but, they're anywhere from managers at Publix to, accountants to anything. And they want to come in and learn how to repair these computers so that when we have like kids come in, they can kind of pair up with each other. So you not only have that they're repairing a computer, but also I feel like unless you can teach others how to do something, you don't truly know it. So it's kind of that just help them learn more about the computer. But I mean, because it takes us about 30 minutes to an hour to fix each laptop. So again, it's just the scaling aspect. If we can get more people to do it. Because really all it is we clean it. Very rarely are the screens even messed up. So it's just, like I said, it's cleaning off the outside, inside, then that way they can actually like see how the parts are. And again, like kind of everything looks the same. Plug in new RAM and put in an SSD and it's upgraded and ready to go. They just press buttons to install Windows. But wow. I think a lot of people are amazed how simple the process is. Then like so many companies want to make it to be. They want to make it seem like this is hard. You need to go to the store. You need to just buy your stuff. Just buy the new thing because that's the easiest option. Where it could be the easiest option, but I feel like for a lot of people, they feel much more fulfilled when they can upgrade their own thing and, not freak out if they see, a blue screen or, see something break. Your instant reaction isn't like everything is gone, so.
Yeah. That is so cool. Um, I was gonna ask, because you said you want to help us not get taken advantage of.
Mhm.
What are some of the ways that we can help ourselves not get taken advantage of? Or what are the most common instances that you see where people they are getting taken advantage of? Like in what ways?
So I would say, well, especially with Apple devices, a lot of the issues they'll say is, you have water damage or something. Especially if you go to the Apple store, normally you bring something in, they'll say, it's water damage, you need to have it replaced, your insurance doesn't cover it. So making sure that if that happens, to go to an independent repair shop, see if there's another option. Also making sure that your data is backed up, just just in terms of like safety and things like that, because a lot of the times if you're solely reliant on like a single source of data and that gets corrupted or something, like you could end up paying like thousands of dollars for the recovery of it. Because really they can name their price on what that is, because it's, it's emotional at that point. It's, it's like going to the vet and they'll, some crazy prices for pet care.
Because we'll do anything to save our pet, and they could tell us $10,000. We're like, oh, here's my credit card.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. It's every single thing that you've ever done on your computer for the last 5 years, you're going to pay whatever. But you're saying it doesn't have to be that way?
No, I would definitely make sure you have a virtual form of backup. So whether that's Google Drive or your iCloud, making sure that you have like two-factor authentication. And then also having a physical backup that's separate from where it is. So if you have your computer next to you, back it up onto a hard drive and then put it somewhere else. Either you can put it in a safe or on a shelf or something, but just so then if something happens to one, it doesn't happen to the other. Another thing I recommend is, especially if you're doing any kind of work on the computers, to have a UPC. So where I am in Florida, we have lightning storms and all kinds of things. And so making sure you have some kind of like power surge protection, so that you have if something gets fried and, comes through your wires, that it doesn't go directly to your computer or wherever your storage is. So having that, trying to remember the one. I can't remember. But yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm just taking notes over here because I'm like, oh, I need to do both of those things. I don't have either of those things, like an actual hard drive, backup. It's great advice. Thank you.
I would say one thing that we're seeing a lot is with all these technologies, there's a lot more data breaches everywhere. So making sure like you're using something like LastPass or 1Password to store your passwords so that they're not like all the same passwords and things like that, because what'll happen is, especially with all these like company mergers or, one company will buy another one. A lot of the times what makes these companies so valuable is your data. And sometimes if they are more innovative companies that don't like care about security first, they're not going to have your passwords encrypted. So making sure that, especially if it's kind of like a newer company, or if you want to deal with AI and things like that, that you use some kind of burner email, or an email that if it got hacked, it would be okay. And making sure that, any accounts that you have, especially like your website hosting, domain name, especially, that you own that admin access to it. I still run into issues where clients will have had their past web developer or their aunt or niece or cousin or whoever bought their domain name for them, but then they run their business off of that. And then there's always some kind of falling out, because you never think that's going to happen. There's always some kind of falling out where they'll hold their domain name or even their like Google business listing hostage So making sure you have admin access over all of your accounts so that if somebody was to disappear or they don't like you anymore, that you have access to run your business online.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they don't even have the admin login for it. That'd be tough. What do you even do if you don't have the admin login for your own domain and it's gone? That person's gone. What can you even do?
So normally there's not a lot. Sometimes depending on the domain name registrar, and my first step is to contact the domain name registrar, and if they have their LLC and all that kind of stuff like set up, then sometimes you can send information like that that says, you know, hey, we had this agreement and now there isn't one. But if it was kind of like informal, this wasn't really a real business, or it turned into a real business, sometimes you're just kind of out of luck. So it depends, but the best thing to do is just to reach out to the domain name registrar and see if you have options. Another thing you can do is wait for that domain name to expire and hope that they just release it. One of the things happened, because just personally it happened to me when because my dad owned a web development company, and when his domain name like lapsed, because I was trying to get access to it, but like I don't have a good relationship with the rest of his family. So when his domain name lapsed, I was trying to get the domain name.
Yeah.
And that somebody else like or got transferred to somebody else, but basically I'm like locked out of that domain name unless I want to pay like $20,000 for it. So it's like
they can hold you hostage.
Yeah, they can hold you hostage. So you just want to make sure it's set up right from the beginning. If you can't figure it out, like I've made a video that kind of walks through that. I recommend Namecheap. I know a lot of people are through GoDaddy. That's fine too. But they make it so easy to sign up and get a domain name that I feel like there shouldn't be a reason to have somebody else do it. And just making sure that's on auto renew, because I've seen that happen too, where people won't put the domain name on auto renew and then they'll lose it. So normally you have like 30 days to get it back, but just double check, make sure that's there, because otherwise it's really hard to recover that.
Yeah, that actually happened in my husband's dealership. The person who was no longer with us did go in and they purchased the URL because they knew we were going to change the name. And the only way for us to get it, the only way we could get it is to pay him 10 grand. And we did.
Yeah.
It's like, he owned it. We didn't buy it ahead of time. You know, he snatched it before we could, because he knew we were changing our name before he left. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an asset for your business. So it's definitely important.
I know. That's awesome. What are some of the other, what are the things that you teach that are easy to you because you've done it so many times, but not common knowledge? Like some of the things that you see people come to you the most, but you're like, oh yeah, somebody still doesn't know how to do that. And it's really easy. You know, what are some things that you do that on a like regular basis?
So one of the most common, just kind of overarching things is people think it would be great if something works this certain way. So throughout like a tech process or anything, you always want to think backwards of like, okay, if this were to break, how would it break? And making sure that you're covering up the holes on that end. Even when I create any kind of tech process, like I just use like paper and pen. I feel like a lot of people just kind of skip to tech too quickly because they think it's going to like that tech smart and it's just going to cover up the holes, and it's not. It's only going to do what you tell it to. So not being like fully reliant on tech to figure it out, because it needs your knowledge to figure those things out. In terms of actual like website things, one of the most common things I see is people not having their basic tracking installed. So having a lot of people know about Google Analytics, but Google Search Console is just as important because that actually shows you what terms people are finding you through. Also, your Facebook pixel. So even if you're not going to run Facebook ads, if you have your Facebook pixel set up, that's still gathering information for you. And of course, having an email list, because you could lose your social media anytime. Nobody wants to think about
Right.
that, but having 500 email subscribers is worth more than having 10,000 Instagram followers, because at least you can actually contact these people and they actually want to hear from you.
True. So really gathering up, do you help people grow their email lists?
So I help them grow their email list through optimizing their website. A
Mhm.
lot of the times I see people use pop-ups on their website, but if we've all gone to a website and see a pop-up, our first instinct is to exit out and to keep scrolling.
Yeah.
So one of the things I recommend people to do is to either put it in the sidebar, or what I see, which is becoming more popular, is you'll scroll and it kind of just like is in the middle of the text. So it'll say you have a blog post. So you have a blog post and you scroll and it's like midway of like, do you want more content like this? And it gives that option, but they can keep scrolling and they can scroll past it. So it's not disrupting the reading, because if you disrupt it, they instantly have a negative feeling with you, and that's not
Right.
what you want before they try to sign up with you.
Right. Don't want to annoy them. I cannot stand pop-ups. Well, that's so fascinating. What is your vision, your 5 to 10-year vision, for your nonprofit, for your business? What do you see happening? What's your dream, and in your mission, what does it look like in 10 years?
So my mission would be to So one of the things I really don't like about current tech companies is everything is through chatbots or, maybe through email. So actually being able to call us up, and if you have a question, we can answer it there with human to human. That's one of our big goals,
It's
which really,
amazing.
yeah. Which with Computer Repair Lab, that's kind of what we hope to happen is, help build up and identify the kids, teenagers that want to help people with their tech as well, because there's such a disconnect, I feel like, because I'm in the millennial crowd. But like the Gen Zers, I feel like so many things just worked that there's a big disconnect of problem solving skills aren't there because things just worked. You just, maybe you had to restart something, but you didn't have to like, blow on game cartridges and things like that to
So
figure it out.
true. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. So just building up those problem solving skills. So with Computer Repair Lab, I mean, 5 years from now, the goal would be to have given away 5,000 laptops by then. I mean, a stretch goal would be to fulfill the 25,000 need in our area, so that we can move into creating chapters in other locations throughout the United States to, again, just reduce the e-waste in each community, fill the need of these devices that are needed for virtual learning, and then also making a workforce that can problem solve, has critical thinking skills, and builds up that resiliency. Because again, if we teach somebody to like how to deal with an issue for 2 days and not give up on it, and then eventually they fix it, they're going to be more likely somebody that you actually want to work with versus somebody that like gives up after 10 minutes because it didn't work the first time.
That's so true. I didn't really think of it that way, but that's brilliant. You're teaching people to problem solve, period. And
Yeah.
once you teach them in one area, they can apply that into other areas, and they will have the confidence in themselves to go, oh my gosh, I did figure that out. I did fix that. And so therefore I can fix things, and therefore I can solve other problems. And it comes from just a little bit of knowledge and what you're doing. And I could literally go into every single aspect of their lives, especially when they're young.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love that because I didn't really even think of it that way. I don't personally do a lot of my own, like I said, I don't know how to fix anything. And I hire out a lot of my tech stuff, but those moments where I do figure something out, where like for instance, just learning how to edit videos, instead of paying a videographer, all the apps they have now, on the, the videos on my phone, I can edit them now. And just learning that, just taking 10, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe. And it was a little bit frustrating. And I was like, ugh, how do you put that text up there? And it's not the right color, like just learning it, right? Just downloading CapCut and learning how to put a video together. Once you do that, it feels so good. I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. But you can apply that to other things so that when other things would come up, especially when you're young and you're starting something and you're not used to fixing something, or it's not really, you haven't had a lot of problems. You building that confidence in young people and all people, old people too. My dad just figured out how to grab video clips. I think I told you the other day, he's 86 years old. And I asked him to grab some clips of us singing when we were kids in his huge,
awesome.
Yeah, massive, I mean, he has an insane amount of videotapes. And he was like the first, what do you call it? Not first responders. First, the people that like jump on the tech wave of for the first time.
Like the innovators?
Innovators. So back then he was an innovator. He was the first person to have a Betamax video camera.
Nice.
And it was $2,000. That's like $30,000 back then in 1980, whatever, 83. It was so long ago. Nobody had that stuff. But anyway, he bought that because that's how important it was to preserve our family videos and our heritage and our history. And he told me later that he was on the phone with Mac support for 4 hours, figuring out how to, if he has an entire 2 hours of video, how to get this one clip out of it. And he figured
Nice.
So it made me think of you because you're talking about that exact thing. If you just work at it for a little bit, you feel so accomplished, you feel good. It's not just fixing a computer. It's about building your confidence, like you're talking about. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And like the more you learn how to do things, the better you can communicate with the tech people to figure it out later. Because then that goes into the, not being able to, not getting taken advantage of, because it's like, now you know how long it takes to edit a video. So it's like versus somebody that's like, yeah, it took me this long to do this thing. It's like, no, it didn't. It took, it'll take this long. I know there's one person basically hired this tech guy that was beyond his skill set. He couldn't figure it out. And he was having him work on a problem for like 2 weeks. And one day he went into his business and he was like with his friend. He's like, I want to see if I can figure out this thing by myself. So him and his buddy, it was like late at night, they were drinking and everything, figured out how to like solve this problem in like 3 hours, fired the guy the next day. Cause it's like, what were you doing this whole time? But they like use this tech speak and want to make you feel dumb. And it's like, we gotta hold people accountable. So I just want to be the tech that like holds people accountable so that we can actually do things versus just make whatever we do mystical and, not easily be obtained by other people. Cause it's a waste of time. Let's just get work done.
And money. So you're saving money. If you can figure it out yourself, then you won't have to believe somebody who says, oh, it's going to take 3 days, wait a second. No, that takes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Therefore you can be empowered to, I love what you're saying, to have the words to communicate what you need, even if you can't figure it out, or you haven't been able to figure that out yet, but also not get screwed.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on calls with clients that they'll want to demo a tech and they're like, hey, can you jump on this call with me just so that I can at least advocate for them? And it's like, because then what I'll see a lot of the times, because, I'm I'm a woman and people don't think I know anything until I like start talking.
Your secret.
And yeah, so that's like a great power to have. Everyone wants to say, oh, it's hard to be a woman in tech. And it's like, it's great because it's like unexpected until I start talking. So yeah, so
What
it's just
happened
making
on this call?
I mean, they would say normally it's like something like, well, it can't be done this way, or you'd have to upgrade this plan to do this thing. And it's like, well, if we use this other, like Zapier normally, it's
Mhm.
like, well, if we could bring the data in this way, would they still have to pay this extra for this, thing? That's like, oh no, because I guess you could do that if you wanted to set it up that way. And it's like, okay, well, that's how we'll set it up. We don't need to pay like an extra $100 a month per month for this integration that isn't needed. But yeah,
Gives you the power and it gives you the knowledge. You go, that's not the only way. But if they're trying to sell you something, they're going to present it as the option.
Yeah.
So they can that's their job, and God bless them. They're trying to get they're trying to make a living as well. But if there's another way that's easier and it's better for you and your budget and your business, well then you should know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just given that like, best, better, good option, just know the options so that it's like, hey, this is what I can do now. And then like knowing what the upgrade path is versus saying, no, you just can't do anything unless it's like the best option. It's like, no, you can. It's just, it's just like email addresses. Like technically you can just use a Google Sheet for free and not use anything if you really wanted to. But at least, if you're just gathering that data and putting it somewhere so that it's useful later on so that you can upload it, like that's what's most important.
That's awesome. You're awesome. I'm so glad you did this today. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all of your knowledge so that we can help ourselves feel empowered, gain that confidence, save money, be more efficient. I mean, so many things come out of, learning a few things in tech, in the tech world. Where can people find you?
So the best place to find me is on Instagram, jessicataylor.io. You can also look up my website, leadnerds.io. And if you need anything, you can book a consultation there. We have blogs, videos, my YouTube, everything is accessible through leadnerds.io.
Okay. And if we go to YouTube, because we have a question we want to answer, is your YouTube channel just called Lead Nerds?
Yes. Yep. It's just Lead Nerds.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. And thank you, listeners and watchers, viewers, if you're on YouTube with us today. Thank you for being here and then supporting my show. God bless you. And just remember, you can create the tech that you like, you want the most to. I always say create the life that you want. You can create the tech that you want. You can create the email address list that you want. You can grow your business for less money and less frustration. Just take it one day at a time. And Jessica's always here to help. Thanks, Jessica. God bless you.
Thanks. Bye.